Good morning. I'm glad you can take some time to devote to worship this weekend. And what we're doing today is we're continuing with Paul's letter to the church at Corinth. Sarcasm is always a temptation for me. Most of the time I keep it under control. But there are times when I've been in a discussion for a long time when I feel like I'm just not getting anywhere, that sarcasm just gets a little bit more tempting. You may have experienced this as well, when someone is just not picking up what you're putting down, and there's that sarcastic comment right there at the tip of your tongue, and you're just ready to say something. And if you're one of these folks who has that bent, let me share something with you. You're not alone, and it's not just myself who shares that temptation to sarcasm. It is actually Paul as well who has this temptation to sarcasm. And in what we look at this morning, 1 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul he gives in. He becomes as sarcastic as anyone can be. So what's happening in this letter? Paul has, this is the fourth chapter, and so he started out, greeted folks, started getting everyone up to speed, and the next chapter he's going to start getting into the situations in the church, but he starts out this last chapter, a sort of overview of here's how we're thinking through things. He starts out on an even keel. He starts out by writing, we, as in Paul and Timothy, we need to be seen, we acknowledge, we need to be seen as trustworthy and humble, that as servants, that's what matters. We're servants of the church, so we need to be seen as trustworthy. We hope you see us as trustworthy. We don't think that there's anything that we've done that would cause us to not be trustworthy, but let's be honest and let's acknowledge that. In the end, it is the judgment of God that determines whether someone's been trustworthy or not, and that's the final determining factor. And in fact, as we turn to God, we can say, you know what? Everything we have, everything we've accomplished, everything we've done is rooted in what God has done first. All that we have accomplished, all that we have, all the honors that we have accrued, all the assets we have, everything that we can claim is ours is built on what God did first. And so this is all so far so good. Paul's been he's kept a tight rein on his tongue. And then he gives in. And in the middle of the chapter, he says something like, but let's say you're right. You, Corinth, let's just say that you're right and you are all that, all right? Let's say that you have it all worked out. You are self-made people. You have it all worked out, and all the town, all the city respects you now, and you are getting praise and acclaim. I'll give it to you. You're just like kings. You walk down the street, everyone stops to look at you because you are just that important. You're just so very important. In fact, if you're that important, man, wouldn't it just be great if you would invite us to come be important with you, to be like kings ruling with you, because you are just all of that. Aren't you just amazing? But while you climb that ladder of accomplishment, while you climb to the heights of social acclaim and recognition, I'll just have to remind you, church at Corinth, I'm going to remind you that Timothy and I, we're going to be down here. We're going to be the fools. While you're up there accomplishing things and getting acclaim and getting respected and getting all these positions of honor, like Timothy and I are going to be down here. And we're going to be doing the same thing we've always done, playing the fools, right? When people talk smack to us, we're going to respond by blessing them. When we are persecuted, we're going to endure. When we are slandered, we will be kind to them. We'll be down here. We'll be the weaker. We will be the lesser. That's where we're going to be. Oh, you amazing people at Corinth who have accomplished so much, and aren't you amazing, right? He's laying it on pretty thick. He really is. What's happening here is he is talking to people who have gotten so wrapped up in their own pursuit of status and of further acclaim and attention he's got to respond to that somehow. And it's still a temptation today, right? We have the phrase, keeping up with the Jones. Like, we have this idea that there's always this temptation to, if they get a boat, we get a boat. Or if they get a new car, we get a new car. Or they send their kids off to this, we send our kids off to that. Someone builds a new home, we build a bigger one, or get involved. Someone else gets involved. We get involved and get elected to a higher office. Right? There's this like temptation to one-upmanship, temptation to keep up and surpass, and like that. There's a very real temptation, and that's human nature doesn't change. It's a temptation today, and Paul's addressing that very same temptation back then. So yes, Paul is mocking, like being sarcastic to these people at the church at Corinth because they have become focused on climbing the ladder, getting more social status, getting more higher up, and being acknowledged as important people. We are important people at this church. We're the important church. We're the people. People pay attention to us. And so he's mocking them. He's being sarcastic to them and pointing out, I'm just going to be down here where I have been all along, doing what I have been doing all along. I'm going to be blessing and teaching and serving. When you're up there and you look down on us, we might look kind of foolish what we're doing, but, just call us the fools, and we're going to keep on doing it, right? That's what he's writing to this church. There's a musical that came out a few years ago called The Greatest Showman. I missed it in theaters, and that was my loss. And my wife showed it to her classes at school, and then brought it home and said, we need to watch this. So we watched it, and it was great. It's the story of P.T. Barnum, who creates the circus, the Barnum and Bailey circus. Right? He's creating the American understanding of circus. And so he's gathering together people who are outcast, who are different, who are not welcome into polite society, and he gives them a venue to perform in, and it creates this community and a family in which they belong, and as the movie unfolds, and there are certain artistic liberties taken with the plot of how this unfolds, right? But what happens in the movie is that P.T. Barnum is swept away by the praise of high society. He goes to the galas and the balls, and he's in the newspapers, which is the cutting-edge technology of the time, the early 20th century, right? And so he is climbing the social ladder. He's getting more and more attention being paid to him. He is seeking the praise of the people who matter, who are important in society. The turning point of the movie comes when this comes crashing down. And P.T. Barnum is surrounded by the people who he started with. And this song unfolds. And I'm either going to be able to cut the song in right now, or I'm going to ask you to pause and click on the link that's going to be in the description. So I'll make it work. But if this doesn't immediately go to the music video for copyright reasons that I can't deal with, click on the link below, because you need to experience this song before we go on.
I saw the sun begin to dim and felt that winter wind blow cold. A man learns who is there for him when the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. 'Cause from that rubble what remains can only be what's true. If all was lost, there's more I gained, 'cause it led me back to you.
I drank champagne with kings and queens. The politicians praised my name. But those were someone else's dreams, the pitfalls of the man I became. For years and years, I chased their cheers, a crazy speed of always needing more. But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for. And from now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. From now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. And where this promise in me starts, like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now
So the words of this song get at something profound, something that matters. The guy is singing, I saw the sun begin to dim and felt the winter wind blow cold. A man learns who is there for him when the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. 'Cause from then rubble what remained can only be what's true. If all was lost, there's more I gained 'cause it led me back to you. All right, he's realizing this, and he says, from now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the light. From now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. Right? And this next verse is where, like, it could almost be cut and paste into what Paul's what he's getting at. I drank champagne with kings and queens, the politicians praised my name. But those are someone else's dreams, the pitfalls of the man that I became. For years and years I chased their chairs, the crazy speed of always needing more. But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for. What P.T. Barnum is realizing is that he has chased the praise of others, seeking other people's dreams, and he when it all falls down, he has this moment of repentance. Repent literally means to turn. Right? He's turning away from seeking the praise of the dreams, other people's dreams, chasing their chairs, and he's stepping away from climbing that ladder, and he's turning back to the people who are family, right? Paul talks about calling himself the fool, like he is now, P.T. Barnum is surrounded by all sort of the fools of the circus, so to speak, all the people who are the outcasts of the circus who have made the circus possible. And what is striking to me is what their response is in the song. We will come back home again. And we will come back home again. Because what they had just experienced is that when someone in their home, someone in their family, P.T. Barnum, had started focusing on climbing the ladder, on keeping track of who was more important, on who was more popular, who was more famous, who had more acclaim, right? It had damaged their sense of home. When you go home, right, there's just people at home. Brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents, children, they're just at home. And you know what happens to all the titles when you walk in the door of your home? It doesn't matter what your titles are, because you walk into your home and you're just family. All your titles they're at the door, right? All the acclaim, all the social standing, all the climbing of the ladder. You go home and it's just family. And because P.T. Barnum had been chasing that, he had damaged their ability to be home. And now that he has seen this, now they can come back home again. And so P.T. Barnum stops trying to climb the ladder and he starts chasing after what actually matters. And that is what Paul is inviting the church at Corinth to do. I mean, maybe not break into song and dance is the process of doing it, though that is always an option. But to have this moment of realizing that there are parts of the church at Corinth who have been chasing other people's dreams, who have been chasing the social acclaim. They've been trying to get the acclaim such that even they might be considered kings of Corinth, right? Paul is mocking them for this. Like, you're chasing after trying to climb the social ladder and become all important, and you're chasing after what matters. We're Christians. We don't climb the ladder, we chase the kingdom. That's what we're called to do. Climbing the ladder is for other people. And hopefully they realize what a futile effort it is. We're called to do something more important. We're called to chase the kingdom, to join with Timothy and Paul, fools, as they point out, because to someone climbing the ladder, anyone who isn't looks the fool. And that's what Paul invites the church to, all the people of the church to acknowledge and realize, so that they might come back home, so that their home might be a place of family where no one's trying to keep track of who's higher or lower, who has more social acclaim, more authority, more power. It's just family together. And that's a challenge for us today. It's a challenge for us to take a moment for a bit of self-reflection. Do we seek to climb the ladder? And if so, how? Well, what are we seeking, right? And if, in as much as we seek to climb the social ladder for social acclaim and standing, that gets in the way of us being able to chase the kingdom. And maybe one way to think about this, one way to sort of self-diagnose, would be to ask the question, what are we too serious about? Like, notice how Paul, his response is to, sarcasm aside, like his response is to say, I'll be the fool. Like, I won't take myself seriously. I'm not going to take my own importance seriously. If someone wants to mock me, whatever. I'm just going to love them. Like, they can mock me all they want. Whatever. They can look down on me. I'm not trying to get up on them. Right? To think about what we're too serious about. Maybe that's one way to ponder where it is we're trying to climb the ladder, where it is we're trying to get acclaim. Right? He writes, when reviled we bless, when persecuted we endure, when slandered we speak kindly. We have become like the rubbish of the world, the dregs of all things, right? We're not going to take ourselves seriously. We're not even going to try to get on this ladder of social acclaim. And this is happening to them because they're not. Because what they're doing something that in the end is far more important. They're chasing the kingdom. They're seeking to build the communities of people who follow Jesus. And in doing so, create the places where people can find home, where people can find acceptance, where people can find that they are loved, that there isn't a matter of who's up or who's down. It's just who is at the table. And then Paul wraps up this section, and he ends up and he says, all sarcasm, all the imagery aside, he just says something very simple. I appeal to you, just imitate me. What you see me doing, let that be the standard for you. I serve, I bless. If I'm reviled, whatever, I serve, I bless. Stop worrying about appearances, stop being too serious, stop worrying about social status, just go serve people. Don't climb the ladder, chase the kingdom of God, chase after Jesus and his footsteps, to be like Christ to others. Amen.